Jameis Winston returns to the Bucs and throws a touchdown. What? Nothing else happened. Welcome back to the Play Reaction. I'm Corey Draper, and I'm here for you. It's gonna be a long couple of weeks with the bye coming up, and we have a lot to talk about with a game that made Lovie Smith defenses look like the '85 Bears. Ugh, Bears. Anyway, before we get to it, I want to remind you to subscribe because win or lose, I'll be right here. Also, feel free to follow me on social media so you can have direct access to my sadness during games. All right. Let's get it over with. This was one of the worst games I've ever seen as a Bucs fan, and that's saying a lot. The offense struggled, which is predictable, but the defense looked like they put Bucs jerseys on the Hillsborough High Junior varsity team. If you saw last week's video, you saw me talk about how Mitch Trubisky has had a shaky career so far. Solid, but not great. Well, buckle up, boys, because suddenly Trubisky is the next Joe Montana. Trubisky threw for 4 touchdowns in the first half. 4 in the first half. He threw 6 by the time the game was over, and honestly, it could have been more. He was darn near perfect, completing 19 out of 26 passes. Meanwhile, the offense did nothing. Like, nothing. Jameis came in and scored a touchdown in the second half, so that's pretty cool. I'll spare you by showing any more highlights because it's just going to trigger us all. Let's move on to what was awesome about this game. You know, it's funny. Not funny haha, but like funny in a I laugh so I don't stick my tongue into an electrical socket. That ever since Gruden's last game in 2008, you know, the one where Hall of Famer Jamarcus Russell beat the Bucs to hand them their 4th straight loss and knock them out of the playoffs, it seems like every single year since then, the Bucs have had a game just like this one, where they make a mediocre QB look like he's on his way to Canton. That's been multiple coaches, multiple players, and multiple schemes. I'm drawing a blank as to why this keeps happening. Maybe we'll just call it the Kiffin curse, or perhaps the Gruden curse, since he's the reason we had to face Khalil Mack this week. Anyway, I'm sure the big question now is, who do we blame? As humans, we want to simplify things. We want to blame one person because that means it would be a simple fix. It's just human nature. Unfortunately, that's rarely the case. It's usually more than just one simple thing. For instance, in this game, the Bucs were down to their 3rd-string safety, Isaiah Johnson, who was filling in for Chris Conte and Jordan Whitehead. That put a huge hole in the secondary that the Bears took advantage of. And this secondary is all around banged up. Remember, Vernon Hargreaves is out for the year. And Brent Grimes looks like a shell of his former self. All of this combined made it look like a very confused secondary and a lot of blown coverages. But the least popular person in Tampa right now is defensive coordinator Mike Smith. Smitty's first year here was great. In the second half of that season, players were executing, getting sacks, forcing turnovers. They finished so strong we were all celebrating when the Bucs signed Smith to an extension. But last year it all fell apart, and this year it's not looking good. The Bucs have given up an average of 433 yards per game this year, which is worse than any Lovie Smith defense. According to Greg Auman, the Bucs have allowed more points in the first 4 games this year than in any other season in their history. The old record? The 2016 Bucs. Mike Smith has broken his own abysmal record. I gotta be honest, I don't care who's injured. An NFL team should never give up this many yards and this many points to a team who otherwise has been anemic on offense. Mike Smith is running out of excuses. This team better make some big-time adjustments and changes if he wants to survive this season. And check out what Coach Cutter said when asked directly about Mike Smith in his post-game press conference.
Based on that game today, we couldn't make enough changes. We should fire every person that was on that field today, starting with me. That was horrific.
But let's all take a deep breath. We're headed into the bye week at 2-2. If you'll remember, that one good season this defense had under Mike Smith started out poorly too. They made some big changes over the bye week and suddenly the D got their acts together. It's a long season, folks. A lot can happen. There's a lot of football left. So here's what's up next. Like I said before, the Bucs get their week off to regroup and prepare for their next game against the 1-3 Falcons, speaking of an injured, struggling defense. And Jameis Winston will start for the Falcons game. I didn't talk much about the offense before because frankly, they were irrelevant in this game. The Fitzmagic seemed to have completely fizzled, so Cutter put Jameis Winston in the game after halftime. The offense did get their first touchdown of the game with Jameis, but they still didn't look like anything special with him in. Obviously, when you're down by 57 touchdowns, your game plan changes quite a bit and he was set up to fail. I will say that Winston brought his signature escapability and play extension that was missing from Fitzpatrick's game. So here we are at 2-2 with Jameis Winston coming back. If I told you before the season that would be the case, would you have taken it? Or has the context of 2 straight ugly losses soured your viewpoint on this team? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments, Bucs fans. It's great therapy to talk it out. Do you need a hug? Come on. We're doing this. Let's go. Ow. See, isn't that better now? Thanks for joining, guys, and for more e-hugs, make sure you subscribe. And if you think I'm a good hugger, go ahead and swing by Patreon to keep the hugs coming. No bear hugs, though. No bear anything. Screw all bears. Enjoy the bye, everyone. Seriously, go hug someone. And go Bucs.